so that I'm facing this way, but my legs are this way. Am I facing this way? There's enough space. Hey guys, it's Wahima, but just call me Wah. Melanated! The crazy color that is on my lips right now is from L'Oreal Infallible Paint. It is called Navy Spy. The episode that I'm giving you a recap and review on is called Crossing the Line. It was the episode that was on this last Sunday. I believe it was the 12th, Sunday the 12th. All right. So let's jump right in. I was in the middle of rewatching it so that I could have a refresher, and the power went out. The power is going to be out till 2, so I have to use natural lighting, which is why this background is like this. You got to do what you got to do in times of temporary inconvenience, you know? So first, let's start out with talking about Andre and Elizabeth. Where we left off with Andre and Elizabeth last episode is Elizabeth is in Dublin, and she is so nervous about the K1 visa, and Andre is so not nervous about it. So they shows Elizabeth and Andre going to the embassy so that he can have his interview for the K1 visa. Elizabeth is around a corner in a cafe biting her proverbial nails. You know, she is nervous. Andre walks in. He has no real expression on his face, and she is even more nervous and doesn't know what the outcome is. And he says, I got my visa. And she's like, oh, I'm so excited. And he's like, yeah, just like I thought it was going to be. So I'm gonna get Andre's accent down, you guys. It's gonna be great. I feel like Andre a little bit does not want to be vulnerable at all. In fact, I don't even think Andre knows what the word vulnerable means. He is just so machismo that you're just like, at first you're like, ooh. And then at second and third, you're just like, okay, what? And then at fourth, you're just like, hell no. I feel like he says some of the things that he says because the camera crew is there and he doesn't want them to think like he ain't no punk. Any move, he is always going to be confident, cocky, masculine about the situation. So Elizabeth is very excited because she's like, oh my God, you're gonna be able to meet my family. And low-key, she's like, thank God I don't have to move to Europe or Moldova. And he's like, you know, I don't care about meeting your family. I don't care what your family thinks. I don't really care if they don't like me. I don't really care about any of that. Like, I got my K1 visa because you wanted me to get it. So now I'm going to America. So it's like, okay, but you don't have to say that out loud. Who are you saving face for? So that evening, they're at a bar celebrating, and Elizabeth brings up the conversation of girls' night. Actually, really, I feel like producers tell Elizabeth to talk about girls' night. Elizabeth is telling her sisters that Andre doesn't want her to go out. And they have a problem with that, which when you say it just like that, you know, they would, anybody would. But here's the deal. I'm going to tell you the story, and then I'm going to give you my opinion and see why this argument is dumb. Basically, Andre is saying, you can go out with your family. I would never stop you from going out with your sisters. You can go out with your friends. However, you're not going to be going out to 4 o'clock in the morning because you have me at home, and I'll be at home waiting for you, and I'll be worried. And she's like, well, I can't have my bachelorette party. I can't go out to the clubs with my friends. And you can go out and have dinner with your friends. You can go to a restaurant. You can like do all that stuff. But like going to a club, people go to clubs to hook up. People go to the clubs to do drugs and to get drunk and act stupid. And I wouldn't want you to do that. And nor would you want to be a woman who does that, because you're a woman and you're going to be married. Why would you want to go out to the club? So it seems very evident that Andre has a negative opinion of the club. He's basically saying that, you know, you're going to be a married woman. You're not a single wild child. Like, you're not even somebody who even wants to go to clubs and do all that stuff. Yet we're having this argument about you not being able to have your bachelorette party at a bar or a club. And he is a bouncer, as we remember, so he sees a lot of the negative sides of being in a club. And I feel like if Elizabeth isn't even somebody who's going to be in the clubs like that, why even have the argument? Why even bring that up? For ratings. Okay, to make him look like a chauvinist. I mean, he is a chauvinist. But then Elizabeth also says some stuff to her confessionals, like, oh, American women aren't like that. In America, men and women are seen as equal. Like, she's really painting this picture that he's this like macho male chauvinist who needs his woman to be in a certain place. Now, I don't doubt that he is, but I think the extent or the examples that they're using are silly examples of that. And I see where he's coming from. He is saying it in a rather strong manner, but like, he makes sense to me, especially the part where him saying that he's going to worry about her. It doesn't matter if he's European or not. I think any guy who has a sense of like, not ownership, but like duty to their wife or their girlfriend would feel the same way. And he said, if you do go out or if you do want to do that, I'm coming with you. And I don't think that is a crazy request, unless you're somebody who loves clubs and drinking in bars and you have to go out by yourself because that's how you like get down. I just don't like the generalities that Elizabeth's making about American women, that American women are seen as equal to men. No. and that American girls are free, as though like Moldovan girls or Moldovan girls or Irish girls are not free. I don't, I don't like blanket statements about Americans and blanket statements about foreigners, right? So let's move on to Luis and Molly. Girl! So first let's start with the first part. Left off last time with Kingsley being like, you're not my daddy, get out of my face. The awkwardness with her father, with Molly's father, and Luis wanting to get married, and the father saying that he doesn't want Luis to use this marriage as a gateway to being American. And I'm just like, why? What's wrong with being American? Why don't you want him to be an American? He's not gonna take your job. So much space in America. This time we walk up on Luis and Molly, and Luis has decided that he's going to talk to Olivia about asking for her mother's hand in marriage. Now he already knows Olivia doesn't like him, or not necessarily doesn't like him, doesn't like the situation, has been kind of standoffish and weird. He goes to ask her, and she's like, you guys are gonna do whatever you want to do. I would ask you to wait. I don't see what the rush is. Me and Kingsley are my mother's world, and we come first, and I just wish you guys would think about that before rushing into this, because I don't really know you. And Luis is like, okay, well, I bought her a ring. Here's the ring. I bought it in the Dominican Republic before I got here. 1, 2, we only have 3 months to get married. So like, either I ask her now or I ask her later. Either way it goes, we're getting married in 3 months. And she's just like, yeah, I guess you guys are gonna do whatever. And he's like, yeah, I guess we are gonna do whatever. I think that Luis is just not prepared for the fact that he's gonna have to deal with a teenager who has an opinion and who is allowed to have an opinion in their parents' affair. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe that's the cultural difference. So Molly decides, because she knows that Luis is by himself a lot and lonely, to take him to a beach, which really isn't a beach, at least not a Caribbean beach, girl. Because if you've ever been to the Caribbean, you know what a beach is. You don't know what a beach is if you've never been to the Caribbean, okay? It's actually a lake, so it's not really a beach. And so they get there and he's like, oh, this is beach. Like, he's so shocked. And she's like, yeah, I know it's not like back home. She prepares a picnic. It's really cute. He's planning on proposing to her at sunset. So they're eating, they're talking, they're sitting on the blanket and on the beach, and he produces the ring, and Molly is in absolute shock. She's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I didn't properly propose to you. I proposed to you in a bar, and this is me and my proper proposal. I bought this ring before I left the Dominican Republic. And she is just crying and like so happy. And I'm so happy for Molly. Molly is finally getting her fairy tale. So the next time we see Molly and Luis, they are at lunch or breakfast with Olivia, and Olivia is like, what? They are just kissing each other. And girl, Luis bites that bottom lip, and right there I paused it. Me and Chris both looked at each other and we're like, oh, that's what happened. His lip biting is so seductive. He bit and dragged on his own lip and then went to kiss Molly, and I was like, oh, see, what happened is Molly went to the Dominican Republic, met this cute bartender who'd been flirting with her, took him back to her room, and he blew her back out. And she has never looked back. She is addicted to the pee. Like, girl, that's all she wants, and that's all she needs. Luis doesn't have to provide anything else. That in that one move, I saw his entire repertoire of sex moves. Like, he must be so skilled. I have faith that he's so skilled and so attentive. And Olivia's just like, what? So anyways, they go on to have a conversation about Olivia's boyfriend. That crossed the line for Molly. Molly immediately was like, nope, don't have this conversation with my daughter. This is inappropriate. So you kind of forgive him and you just move on, because you're just like, all right, that's the end of it. Little do you know, that is not the end of it. So in the next scene with Luis and Jesse, Molly's brother, they're playing pool, and Olivia and her friend come downstairs. Jesse has told on Olivia. He made mention to Molly that Olivia's boyfriend had stayed a little bit late one night, and Olivia's like, I can't trust you, uncle. Like, am I gonna be able to trust you? You're gonna keep things? And uncle's like, look, there are certain things I gotta tell my sister, period, point blank. And then she says the same thing to Luis, and Luis is like, hey, it's your own life. You live your life. Like, I have nothing to do with it. Like, I don't care. So basically, I feel like since Olivia has rejected Luis doesn't see Olivia as like a kid, and he really doesn't know how to handle it. And so the only way he can, because she's not a little girl like Kingsley, is to treat her like a grown woman, and that is not what he should be doing. He then again brings up the fact that she's just effing her boyfriend, and he says that to her. And like the uncle is just kind of like taken aback, but doesn't really say anything, at least not on camera. And Olivia and her friend get weirded out and they leave, basically saying like, you're out there doing your thing too, and I'm marrying your mom, and you're not planning on marrying him, so you're just like effing him. And I'm just like, Luis, stop it. It is so uncomfortable and so inappropriate. Olivia and her friend immediately leave. They go upstairs and they tell Molly, and Molly's like, I'm really sorry, I'm gonna have to have a conversation with him. And at this point, I think Luis does not care, and that's a really bad combination. Like, he needs to get himself some friends and leave Olivia alone, because he'll make a forever enemy of her when he doesn't need to. She's just going through a thing, and so is he, and I think he needs to be the adult in it, and he's just incapable of being the adult in it, you know? And even in the confessional, when Molly says it again, he's very defiant. He's like, I don't know. She's an adult. She's a grown woman. It's her life. Girl, and I love Molly, so I only want the best for her. I'm happy that she found Luis, and I'm happy that Luis loves her, and I really do think he does love her. And he blows her back out, and I'm happy for her. So, David and Annie. So we move on to David and Annie, and where we left off last time with David and Annie is Chris asking that ridiculous question, asking Annie if she'll give him massages by the pool, which everyone on the internet is saying, oh, the producers told him to say that. The producers can suggest that you say something, but you don't have to say it. He's not hard up for money from TLC if he is getting paid to be on TLC, that he needs to say something like that, or he needs to put himself in a position to say something so racist and like rude, you know? We get to David, and David's gonna have a video phone call with his daughter Ashley, who's back home in the States, and we find out that David hasn't told not one of his kids about the engagement. When he says Annie says hi, Ashley is just like, who's Annie? Like, I know she's heard the name, but she's like saying that it's weird for her father to talk about Annie as though Annie is this real person when she's never seen Annie, and like, why would Annie have anything to say to her? Like, that's your friend in Thailand. Like, okay, she says hi to me, cool. Like, so what has happened is that David has gone to Thailand, and he has found a young bride, and he doesn't want to tell his family because he knows that they'll be mad and judge him. Now, if David were my father, I would be mad. So I get where they're coming from, but at the same time, I would only be mad if my father had to spend money on her. And since David doesn't have any money, who cares? You know, if my money wasn't being bothered, then like, who cares? David makes some comment about, oh, it's gonna be so exciting when Annie comes to the States, because then you'll have somebody to go shopping with, and you have somebody to get your nails done with. As though Ashley doesn't have a life. As though Ashley doesn't have any friends, and all she is doing is just waiting around for her dad to bring home a 24-year-old bride for her to go shopping with. What, David? And then she's like, well, can I meet her at least? Like, this person I'm supposed to go shopping with? So David finally produces Annie. Annie gets on, talks to Ashley. Annie's really nervous and shy and doesn't exactly know what to talk about. And then when she like is showing her nails, because I guess she asks if she can do nails, Jesus Christ. She goes to lift up her hand that has the ring on it, and David tries to pull it down and cover it so that Ashley doesn't see the ring. And first of all, I feel like it's not like Ashley would know that that was an engagement ring to begin with. I think David is just being extra dramatic. I would assume that that's just her ring, you know? Like, people wear rings on their fingers, and it doesn't have to necessarily be an engagement ring. They hang up with Ashley. It's a good conversation between Annie and Ashley. Annie feels good about it at the end. She questions him on why he hasn't told his family, and he tries to explain, but the truth is that he's embarrassed, number one, and he knows that they're going to be mad at him. He's come to a foreign country after like having an emotional breakdown and losing all of his money and everything he owns, and then he just like runs to Thailand like a coward and to work in his friend's resort and leaves all his family behind, including his children that he says he misses, and then has now been in Thailand, and this is his third girlfriend that he's proposed to, and she's 24 years old and he's 48. Of course his kids are gonna feel some kind of way. So later on they have an engagement party, and it's dual, and David's like dancing and drinking. So he gets drunk, and Annie and him get into a row. My first question is, what is yacking? She keeps saying, you come to me, you should start yacking. And I don't know if that's like yak, yak, yak. The question is, what did he do? They cut it out. I don't know why. They didn't show what happened. So basically, you see him dancing and being silly and her giggling, and then like them going into their separate corners, and then him having more beers, asking for more beers, and then asking where Annie is, and you can kind of tell he's lost in the sauce. And then he finds Annie, he walks up to her, and then like the next statement you see is her face drops, and she goes, why are you yakking me? And I'm just like, what just happened? I don't know what he said to her. And she's like, I guess already embarrassed and tired because she's been up all day, and she's annoyed because he's drunk and he's being weird and crazy. She has a breakdown because she's like, if he's like this in the United States, I'm lucky right now that I'm in Thailand and I get to tell him how I feel and walk away if I need to. But like, what's gonna happen if he does this in the States? Like, there's gonna be nothing for me to do, and she's gonna be completely alone. She's not gonna have anyone to know, and her husband's just gonna be drunk doing things and making her uncomfortable, or yelling at her, or yakking, whatever the hell that is. And like, She has an absolute point. Like, Chris even mentions that David has a drinking problem, and David refuses to acknowledge it. Not only did he run away to Thailand and leave his family, not only did he lose all his money, not only is he getting married to someone who's A, out of his league, B, too young for him, C, not really ready to emotionally handle what is happening to him, he's going to have a drinking problem on top of that? Like, Annie girl, run. Because, like, she has no idea what she's getting into. He's too much. He needs to, like, really figure himself out, and he doesn't know he needs to figure himself out. He doesn't recognize that he's still sad and depressed and has issues, and he's just come to Thailand to get a young wife, and that's supposed to make him feel better. I don't understand, men. Why does a young wife negate everything that's fallen apart in your life? Get your life together, dude. Okay, so next we move on to Azan and Nicole. So in this part we find out that Azan doesn't have a job, and it's because Nicole doesn't want him to get one unless he can talk to her 24/7. Like, so she sends him money. And then he's saying that he's so not used to not having a job, and he loves working, and he likes to help his mom out, but he can't now because Nicole won't let him. So I'm so confused. Is he using the money to pay his mom's rent? Is that what he's doing? Why doesn't he just get a job and say, F Nicole, I gotta take care of my family? Like, I don't understand exactly what's going on and why he's being a lame duck. And Nicole's trying to make it seem like it's normal for an American girl to pay for her boyfriend or whatever. And I'm like, it is if you're married and your husband does something where he makes less than you, or he's, you know, can't work or something. That makes sense, but it doesn't make sense for you to stop a grown man on another continent from getting a job because he won't be able to talk to you. And it doesn't make any sense that he would then not get a job because he wants you to just continue to send him money. And I did the math, and Nicole's only sent him like $1,600, I think it was. So, like, is he living like a king off of that $1,600? Like, what is going on? I need details. Yet her job, she's not able to text during her job. I'm just like, why don't you guys just set up a meeting time to talk once a day? Like, if it's 2 a.m. Florida time and 3 p.m. Morocco time, like, cool. Like, why don't you just be adults about it and set up a Skype time? He can't have a whole job because he won't be able to text you and talk to you during it. This is so dumb. They're so young, and it frustrates me. It also frustrates me that Nicole's on the beach with some boots on. This whole situation is very weird to me. I don't quite get what's going on. So later on in the episode, they go to get some fresh vegetables and fresh fruit. In fact, she says that she's never seen produce just sitting out. All the produce that she's ever seen has been in a can, which I know is a lie. Every single grocery store has a produce section where there's produce sitting out. But I mean, maybe she's never seen it like outside in a market like that where there's no option for canned food. Something else that was very interesting about that market trip is that they got chicken, and you don't just buy a chicken wrapped. You buy a chicken alive. How fresh must that chicken be? And then it takes away this idea of mass producing animals, and I think it might be more humane this way. To, like, you have a bunch of chickens, someone comes up, they want to buy a chicken for their meal at night, and so they buy a chicken or two, and then you kill the chicken right there and you give it to them. They pluck it for you and everything. Like, that seems more humane than I think how we do it in the States. Fresher and more humane. It was a good experience. I had a good time. I hope Nicole did as well. So they're staying at Azan's aunt's house, and Azan's aunt has gotten up and made a sheep's head, and Nicole won't even try any of it, and you guys know how I feel about this. I'm not as mad as her as I was at Larry, but I'm mad. You know, we already know she's disrespectful. Like, we already know these things about her. Like, Larry was a complete shock, but I'm still mad at Nicole. Like, girl, take a bite. What's wrong with these people? This woman got up and cooked this sheep's head for you and presented to you on a platter, and you don't even want to take a bite after Azan continuously tells you to take it. And he finally tells you that you're being rude to not eat it, and you still act like you can't eat it. Then Azan says, "It's interesting. This is the first time we've put food in front of you and you don't eat it." So let's move on. Okay, so then we have David and Evelyn. So David and Evelyn, again, their fighting is so tedious. They're fighting over wedding details, and I just feel like good for both of them. Good for the both of them. He's 27 years old, and he wants to marry a girl in the United States who's 18 years old, and they're having a lot of miscommunication because they decided to get engaged after 2 weeks of knowing each other and for talking on the internet after a certain amount of time. He keeps harking back on certain decisions she's making and how selfish she's being, and I'm like, yeah, David, because she's 18. She's 18 and she's been dreaming about her wedding for all of her life. So like, how long has she been thinking about her wedding? Since she was like 8? Girl, you've been thinking about a wedding since you were 8? That's insane to me. But anyway, so she doesn't want to move an inch at all, and it sucks because she should. You know, it's his wedding too. And also my question is, again, why do they have to get married with all the bells and frills? Why can't they just get married in like a justice of the peace, and then when they have more time, plan this perfect wedding that works for the both of them? You don't have to have all the whistles. You could just do the little ceremony real quick and then come back and make it amazing. Then you wouldn't be having all these arguments. Their situation is so tedious, and I almost feel like they deserve each other. They deserve it. All right, you guys, so that's it. That's my recap for this episode of 90 Day Fiancé. There is more because I'm gonna have to come back when the power comes on, because I know there's more and I just don't know. I don't remember what it is. But when the lights come back on and the TV comes back on, I can watch the latter hour and give you guys more details on actually what happened throughout this episode, and I'll be with the correct background. Second hour. Here we go.